All right, let's dive into something pretty big today, something that could really impact all of us.
Oh, yeah.
President Trump's new executive order about government efficiency. We got a whole bunch of articles and analyses here.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this is going to get interesting.
Very interesting.
So it's called Department of Government Efficiency.
Right.
And you're not going to believe this DOGE is like a major theme here.
Really?
I'm serious. We're going to get to that in a bit.
Okay.
But first, what's the big idea, the main goal of this whole thing?
Well, this executive order, it's really focused on using technology to bring the federal government into the 21st century, modernizing how it works.
Okay.
And that could really make a difference for everyone, really, but especially taxpayers.
Less wasted time, less wasted money.
Exactly.
That's always good news for taxpayers.
Absolutely.
But hold on, how does this order actually define agency?
Right.
Does it cover, like, the entire government?
It defines agency pretty broadly, actually. So, yeah, it includes most of the federal government.
Okay.
But there's one interesting exception.
What's that?
The White House itself.
The White House is exempt.
Yeah.
Why would that be?
It doesn't really say explicitly,
Oh.
but, maybe the president wants to avoid, accusations that he's using this initiative for his own benefit, or maybe the White House already has its own thing going on, its own modernization efforts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That makes you wonder what's happening behind those closed doors.
Right.
But, okay, let's focus on what IS covered.
Okay.
And it seems like DOGE is a pretty big deal.
Definitely.
We got to talk about this name change.
Okay.
The United States Digital Service, they're calling it the United States DOGE service now.
The DOGE.
Is the president, messing with us?
Well, the name is definitely eye-catching, to say the least.
Yeah.
But let's look past that for a second and focus on what they actually do. The United States Digital Service, or USDS as it was known before,
Right.
they've actually been doing a lot of important work behind the scenes for years.
Really?
Trying to improve government websites, digital services, all that.
Mm.
Their goal is to make dealing with the government online easier for citizens.
That's a good goal.
Right. And they've had some real successes, too, quietly improving things like, online tax filing,
Oh, okay.
benefit applications, making them more user-friendly, more efficient, all that good stuff.
But they actually have a decent track record.
They do.
But still, why the sudden rebranding to DOGE?
Right.
What's the message there?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bold move, no doubt about that.
Mm.
It's definitely gotten people talking.
Yeah.
Some people might see it as a fresh start, like a signal that the government is embracing a more modern, innovative approach.
Okay.
Others might think it's just a publicity stunt. Yep. But one thing's for sure, President Trump is making this a priority, and the name change, that just underlines that, doesn't it?
It definitely does.
Yeah.
But it's not just the name, right?
Right.
This executive order gives this U.S. DOGE service, it gives them some pretty serious power.
Yeah.
They can access almost all agency records and systems.
Wow.
Is that normal?
Giving that level of access to a temporary organization within the executive office of the president,
Right.
that's not really standard procedure. It shows that the president really wants to give the USDS, the DOGE service now, the power to find problems and fix them directly. They can basically get under the hood of how different agencies operate.
Yeah.
And that could lead to, potentially much faster, much more effective improvements.
So they've got the access, they've got the mandate.
Right.
But what's the plan? How are they going to actually make all this efficiency happen?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The executive order, it outlines a pretty multifaceted approach. So there's this thing about forming special DOGE teams within each agency.
Oh.
There's a whole software modernization initiative and a big emphasis on data integrity.
Okay. Sounds like we've got a lot to unpack there.
We do. So each agency is going to have to put together a dedicated DOGE team.
DOGE teams.
Yeah, think of them like specialized units, kind of like tasked with making their agency more efficient.
I like it.
Yeah.
So these DOGE teams, what are they actually going to be doing?
Right. So each team,
they're going to
have at least 4 key members.
Okay.
A team lead, an engineer, an HR specialist, and an attorney.
Okay, so it's like a multidisciplinary approach then.
Exactly.
It sounds like they're ready to deal with, not just the tech stuff,
right,
but also like personnel issues, make sure everything's legal, all that.
Yeah, it's a holistic approach, for sure.
But why those specific roles?
Well, think about it. the problems they're going to face.
Oh.
You need the engineer to understand the technology, update it,
Makes sense.
the HR person to handle any staffing changes, training, whatever,
Right.
and then the lawyer to make sure everything they do is by the book.
So it's like they're assembling these, like, mini SWAT teams
Yeah, kind of.
for government efficiency.
Yeah.
Each one equipped to handle, the specific issues within their agency.
Right, exactly.
Okay, smart.
Mm.
But let's be real, trying to overhaul any system,
Yeah,
especially one as massive as the federal government,
absolutely.
it's going to be tough, right?
It's not going to be easy, that's for sure.
What kind of roadblocks do you see these DOGE teams running into?
Well, one big one, I think, is going to be getting different agencies to actually work together.
Interagency cooperation or lack thereof.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like herding cats. Like
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
every agency, it's like its own little fiefdom.
Right, its own culture, its own priorities,
Right.
its own way of doing things.
And then you've got people within the agencies
Yeah.
who might resist change.
Oh, absolutely.
People are always wary of new things, especially when it comes to technology.
Right, and especially if it might mean their job changes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then there's just the sheer scale of it all.
right.
Modernizing all that outdated software, the
This is
systems.
a massive undertaking.
Where do they even begin?
Well, that's where this software modernization initiative comes in.
Okay, tell me more about that.
This is the part of the executive order that lays out how they're going to tackle the tech side of things.
Okay.
And a big part of that is interoperability.
Interoperability.
Yeah,
Break that down for me. I'm not a tech expert.
sure. So think about, when you have to deal with different government websites,
Oh, yeah.
different systems.
Mhm.
Maybe you've had to fill out the same information like 5 times.
100 times.
Right, jumping through all these hoops just to get something done.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
It is.
It feels like every agency's like in its own little silo.
Yeah, completely disconnected from all the others.
Right.
That's exactly what interoperability is supposed to fix.
Okay.
It means making sure that all these different government systems can actually talk to each other, share data.
Okay.
And that way, it's a smoother, more efficient experience for you, the user.
So instead of feeling like I'm navigating a digital maze
Right.
every time I try to interact with the government,
Yeah.
things could actually be streamlined, easy to use.
That's the goal, yeah.
I like it.
So imagine a world where you only have to enter your information once, and then it's automatically shared with any agency that needs it.
Okay.
No more duplicate forms.
Less wasted time.
Exactly.
Less frustration.
Hopefully a lot less frustration.
Sign me up.
But of course, with all this talk about data sharing,
Yeah.
a big question comes up.
What's that?
Privacy.
Right.
How do we make sure our personal data is protected when all this information is moving between systems?
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
It is. And the executive order, it actually addresses that.
Okay.
It really emphasizes the importance of data integrity, responsible data collection. That means strong security measures to prevent unauthorized access and making sure that data is only used for the purpose it was collected for.
So it's not just about making things efficient.
Right.
It's about doing it responsibly, ethically.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
But how does all of this, all this technical stuff actually translate into benefits for us, the taxpayers?
Right. What's the bottom line?
Yeah, what's the bottom line?
Well, if this works the way it's supposed to, the potential benefits are huge.
Okay.
I mean, we could see some serious cost savings, from streamlining operations, less redundancy.
Less wasted money,
Exactly. Less wasted taxpayer money.
which means potentially lower taxes.
Potentially. Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
And then there's the potential for, better government services,
Okay.
like faster processing times
Hmm.
for applications, claims, all that. More user-friendly websites.
So instead of dreading those interactions with government agencies,
Yeah.
we might actually start having,
Right?
dare I say, positive experiences.
That's the hope.
I like it.
Of course, we got to remember, turning this vision into reality,
Right.
it's not going to be easy.
It's a big undertaking.
It is. It's complex, lots of moving parts.
Yeah.
It's too early to say for sure if it's going to work.
It's like embarking on this massive renovation project.
Yeah.
You've got this vision
You know how great it's going to be.
of how amazing it's going to be when it's done.
Right.
But you know there's going to be dust.
Yeah.
There's going to be noise.
Some hiccups along the way.
Some unexpected problems.
But the payoff, it could be huge.
Yeah.
It really could be.
I hope so.
Me too.
So how will we know if it's working?
Oh, that's a great question.
How will we measure the success of this whole DOGE agenda?
Right.
What are the key things to watch for
Okay.
in the coming months, years?
Yeah, what would tell us that this is actually making difference?
Right, exactly.
Well, one thing we can look at is, are we saving money?
Cost savings, yeah.
If agencies are actually becoming more efficient, we
Yeah.
should see government spending go down over time.
It's not going to happen overnight, though.
No, of course not.
It takes time to implement these kinds of changes.
And to see the results.
Yeah, to see if it's actually working. But in the long run, if it does work,
Right.
those savings should add up.
Hopefully.
And hopefully, that'll mean lower taxes for us,
That's the idea.
the taxpayers.
Exactly.
But it's not just about saving money, right?
No, not at all.
We also need to see, are government services actually getting better?
Right, exactly.
Are they improving?
So are wait times at the DMV going down?
Okay.
Are government websites getting easier to use?
Hmm.
Are benefits being processed more quickly?
Those are the kinds of things that we would actually notice, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The citizens.
Those are the tangible signs that this is having a positive impact.
Right.
It's not just about numbers either.
What do you mean?
It's also about, what are people saying?
Oh, okay.
Are they finding it easier to deal with the government?
So are they actually having better experiences?
Are they more satisfied with the services?
Yeah.
Those kinds of anecdotal reports, they can be just as valuable as, hard data.
It's about looking at the big picture.
Right.
Seeing how these changes are actually playing out in the real world.
Absolutely.
How they're affecting people.
And, we got to remember, changing a system this big,
Yeah.
as complex as the federal government,
Right.
it's a long process.
Bureaucracy is not known for its speed.
Yeah, exactly.
So we shouldn't expect overnight miracles.
No, it's more like turning a giant ship
Yeah.
than flipping a switch.
It's just going to take time. It's going to take effort.
And a lot of coordination to change course.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean we should just sit back and wait passively.
Right.
As taxpayers, we have a real stake in this. We want to see this succeed.
Yeah.
We need to be informed,
Right.
engaged, and actively involved in shaping how this plays out.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So it's not just a top-down initiative.
No.
It's a collaboration between the government and the people.
Right.
So what can we do to make sure our voices are heard?
How can we help make this DOGE agenda a success?
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, stay informed.
Okay.
Pay attention to what's being reported,
Right.
any announcements from the government.
Any updates on the DOGE agenda?
Exactly. The more you know about what's happening, the better you'll be able to understand the issues and hold your elected officials accountable.
Knowledge is power.
It is.
So we should be reading about this,
Yeah.
following the news, maybe even doing some of our own research to
Absolutely.
get a deeper understanding of this whole thing.
And don't be afraid to reach out to your representatives. Let them know what you think.
Okay.
Give them your feedback, both good and bad.
Yeah.
Tell them what's working, what's not,
Right.
what you'd like to see improved.
Write those emails.
Exactly.
Make those phone calls.
Go to town hall meetings.
Make sure our elected officials know that we're paying attention
Right.
and that we care about how this affects us.
And if you run into any specific problems, any roadblocks when you're dealing with government agencies,
Okay.
don't hesitate to speak up.
Right.
Let the DOGE teams know what you're experiencing.
Give them feedback.
Yeah, they need that real-world feedback.
So if I'm stuck on a clunky website,
Yeah.
waiting in a ridiculous line,
Yeah.
or just drowning in bureaucratic red tape,
Flag it. Let them know.
I should let them know.
Yes, the more information they have about these pain points, the better they can target their efforts and make sure that this is actually making things better for people.
Yeah. For regular people,
Right.
this is starting to feel less like a boring policy discussion
Yeah,
and more like a call to action.
I like that.
We're not just, passive recipients of government services.
Right.
We're active participants
Yeah,
in this process of making things better.
that's the key takeaway here.
I like it.
The DOGE agenda, it's got its quirks. It's got its potential challenges, but it's an opportunity. It's a chance for us to to engage with our government.
In a more proactive way.
Exactly. We can help shape how government operates.
And make it work better for all of us.
Absolutely.
It's like we're all part of this giant experiment
Yeah.
in government efficiency.
A giant experiment.
And we need to collect data, analyze the results,
Right.
make adjustments along the way.
Exactly. It's a process.
So we need to track the progress,
Yeah.
give feedback.
Hold our elected officials accountable for actually delivering on this.
It's a collaborative effort
It is.
between the government and the people it serves.
Right. We're all in this together.
And if we all do our part,
Yeah.
we might actually be able to create a more efficient,
More effective.
user-friendly government.
A government that actually works for the people.
That's a goal worth striving for.
Absolutely.
But let's shift gears for a second
Okay.
and talk about some of the potential downsides of this whole thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Because let's be real, no major policy change is perfect.
Right. There are always risks.
What are some of the things we should be watching out for?
Well, one concern is that, this focus on efficiency,
Right.
it could end up leading to a reduction in the quality of services.
Okay, so in the rush to streamline everything,
Yeah.
cut costs.
We could end up with a system that's, fast but not very good.
Right, exactly.
But, imagine applications being processed really quickly, but with less careful review,
Okay.
which could lead to mistakes, oversights.
Or like a website that's super easy to use,
Yeah.
but it doesn't actually have the information you need.
Right. Or the functionality.
It's like the difference between fast food and a gourmet meal.
That's a good analogy.
Fast food, it's quick, it's convenient,
Yeah.
but it's not always the most nutritious.
Right.
We need to make sure that this pursuit of efficiency,
Yeah.
it doesn't come at the expense of quality.
Or accuracy.
Right.
We got to find that balance.
So how do we do that?
How do we make sure things are done efficiently but also effectively?
Yeah.
Well, that's where oversight and accountability come in.
Okay.
We need to have ways to monitor this whole thing. The DOGE agenda.
Right.
Make sure it's actually achieving its goals.
Without sacrificing quality.
Exactly.
So we need watchdogs,
Yeah.
independent audits.
Maybe even some public reporting on how things are going.
Transparent.
Transparency is key.
Yeah.
We need to be able to see what's happening, how the money's being spent,
Right.
and whether these changes are actually leading to improvements.
And if things aren't working the way they should be,
Right.
we need to be able to sound the alarm,
Yeah.
demand that they fix it.
Exactly.
This shouldn't be a blank check for the government
No, absolutely not.
to just do whatever they want in the name of efficiency.
We need accountability.
Right.
We need transparency.
to make sure that the people's interests are protected.
Exactly.
Okay.
And another potential problem, something else to watch out for, is data security.
Right. With all this data sharing.
Yeah, with all this emphasis on data sharing, interoperability.
The risk of cyber attacks, data breaches, it goes up, right?
It does. So while we're streamlining these systems,
Yeah.
making things more convenient,
Right.
we also need to make sure that we're protecting sensitive information.
Cybersecurity has to be a top priority.
It has to be. It can't be an afterthought.
Because if there's a data breach,
Yeah.
it could undo all the good that this DOGE agenda is trying to do.
Absolutely. It would erode public trust.
People would be afraid to use these new systems.
Right. They wouldn't trust the government with their information.
Exactly.
Imagine hackers getting access to a database
Oh, yeah.
with everyone's personal information from multiple agencies.
That would be a disaster.
It would be a nightmare.
A major setback.
Yeah.
Not just for this DOGE agenda, but for public trust in government, period.
It would undermine the whole initiative.
Right.
Yeah.
So while we're, excited about the potential benefits, we also need to be, realistic about the risks
Absolutely.
and hold the government accountable for protecting our data.
It's a balancing act for sure. We want efficiency, but not at the expense of,
Right.
quality, security, or our basic rights.
Exactly.
We got to find that sweet spot where we can use technology to make government better.
Yeah.
But without compromising the things that really matter.
And that's why it's so important to have,
Yeah.
informed citizens.
Engaged citizens.
People who are paying attention
And who are willing to speak up.
to make sure that the government's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Right.
Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the success of this DOGE agenda, or really any government initiative,
Right.
it depends on the people.
On the people's participation.
We have to be informed, engaged,
Just to speak up.
to make sure that this is actually serving its purpose,
Right.
to create a government that's more efficient, more effective
And more trustworthy.
for all Americans.
That's a powerful thought.
We the people, we're not just watching this happen.
Right.
We have a voice. We need to use it.
To shape the future we want.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny. We've been talking about all the technical details,
Yeah.
the potential benefits, the risks.
Right.
But there's something about this whole DOGE agenda that just feels, I don't know.
Different.
Yeah.
I think what you're picking up on is it's not just about, like, practical changes.
Okay.
It's symbolic, you know? Symbolic how so?
It's about how the government sees itself
Okay.
and its relationship with the people.
Interesting.
I mean, think about the name Department of Government Efficiency.
Right.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're serious about this efficiency thing.
Modernization, yeah.
Right. Even a little bit of that Silicon Valley disrupt the status quo energy.
Yeah, I see that.
And then there's a whole DOGE thing.
It's not exactly your typical government branding, is it?
Definitely not. It's catchy. It's memorable.
It's kind of funny, too, you know?
Yeah, a little irreverent.
Like, they're not afraid to poke fun at themselves a little bit.
Maybe.
Or at least at the image of stuffy government bureaucracy.
Right, exactly.
But is it all just for show?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of both, honestly.
Okay.
It's definitely a branding strategy.
Right.
But it's also a real attempt to fix some real problems.
Problems that have been around for a long time.
Yeah, for years.
So it's like they're trying to grab people's attention. Yeah. Get them excited about this.
But they're also, you know, rolling up their sleeves and doing the work.
They're actually trying to make things better.
Yeah, that's the goal.
It's almost like they're trying to make government efficiency cool.
In a way, yeah. I mean, agree with it or not.
Yeah.
You got to admit, it's a different approach.
It's definitely more interesting than your typical government initiative.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to results.
Results, absolutely.
If it doesn't actually work, if it doesn't make things better.
It's all for nothing.
Right, exactly.
And as we've talked about, there are some real challenges here.
Yeah. Resistance to change, bureaucracy being what it is,
Right.
data security concerns.
All of that could get in the way.
But if they can overcome those obstacles,
If they can actually use technology to streamline things,
make government services better.
the benefits for taxpayers could be huge.
Yeah.
We're talking about potentially lower taxes,
More efficient online services,
faster processing time.
a government that actually works for the people.
That's the dream.
It's a pretty ambitious vision.
It is.
But if it works, it could really change things.
For the better, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so.
Me too.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this
What should they be thinking about?
when they're dealing with the government?
Or just, you know, thinking about the state of our country?
What's the most important message?
I think it's this. Be engaged.
Engaged, okay.
Pay attention to what's happening with this DOGE agenda.
Stay informed.
Yeah, ask questions, give feedback.
Hold our elected officials accountable.
The future of government, it's not something that's just happening to you. It's something we're all creating together.
I like that.
Yeah,
It's a reminder that we have a voice.
we do.
We have a role to play in making our government better.
Whether you're excited about this DOGE agenda or skeptical, it doesn't matter.
Your involvement matters.
It's crucial.
Well said, well said.
So I think that brings us to the end of our deep dive.
Into President Trump's executive order on government efficiency.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
It has
A really interesting look at this initiative.
bold initiative.
Potentially transformative.
We hope you've learned something today
Yeah, that you understand this DOGE agenda a little better now.
and that you see how important it is
For you to be a part of this.
to be involved.
The future of government, it's in your hands.
Stay informed.
Stay engaged.
Keep pushing for a government that works for you.
Absolutely.
Until next time,
Yeah.
keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Keep diving deep.